You're listening to Bare Naked Bravery, Peep Show episode 23. My name is Emily Ann Peterson, and this is a podcast for creative misfits. It's pretty great. And I have a really good one for us today because it's something that I've dealt with a lot in the past. And it is this feeling trapped by your own sense of worry. It's kind of this hamster wheel that we can accidentally get on. Or we realize we've been on it for a while, and that really bugs the crap out of me, actually, personally, when that happens, when I realize, oh my gosh, I've wasted so much energy on worrying. I didn't need to do anything. I didn't need to be worrying. I needed to be actually doing something about it or doing something else entirely. So that's what we're talking about a little bit today, how to kind of release yourself from the trap and the hamster wheel of worry. So I want to go into a little bit about, before we do that, I want to go into a little bit about some announcements. We have a super cool class coming up, and I wanted you to just know it's coming up. Keep your eyes peeled. If you have received a bravery bundle, which is free on barenakedbravery.com, then you're on the list to know about it. But if you have not received your bravery bundle and you have not gotten on the list, on the inner circle list, then I encourage you to do so, but the bravery bundle is great on its own, but I also want to make sure that if you're interested in joining us for a class on some of this kind of stuff, then you should get on the list. So, okay, so the worry is so awful. But some of us, like myself, are really good at it. Like, I'm a really analytical thinker, so naturally my skill of asking what if and following all of the rabbit trails is it's a skill, actually. I mean, I use that skill to my advantage so often. And I think that's the key here, is understanding the difference between when I'm using my skill and when my skill is using me. So an example of when my skill is using me is when I wake up in the middle of the night worrying about whether I've done XYZ or what will happen after I pull the trigger on launching something. That is mental and physical energy that needs to be put in a different area. It needs to be put in a different, directed in a different area is what I mean to say, because if you're just worrying about it, you're sitting there stewing in anxiety, and that's not as beneficial as saying, you know what, here I am, I'm waking up at 3 a.m. I'm going to write this thing down so that in the morning I remember it. Then you kind of give yourself some freedom to go back to sleep. You've put that energy onto the piece of paper. The paper is holding your worry for you, and you can deal with it later when you need to address it, or when it's more appropriate to address it. I do that with, this also happens with creative ideas as well, or business ideas. I have a ton of ideas for so many things, and I've gotten into a really good habit lately of writing down the idea rather than jumping into the idea right away. I have to understand that, at the moment that I'm writing it down, putting it in some people call it a pile-up zone. I call it my parking lot. I'm parking these ideas in the parking lot for later. It works really well, because then I can go back in and go, you know what, I had an idea about how to answer these kinds of emails on a regular basis. What was that? And I can go back into my parking lot, and it's right there waiting for me. And I can address it when it's time to address it, as opposed to letting it take over my day and letting it turn me into a victim. And I would say that, worry is your psyche's way of protecting itself It's not something that we need to berate or like give ourselves even more guilt than we probably already have. It is a skill, and it is a self-protection skill, right? We're our bodies and our minds are trying to protect ourselves from error or from rejection or from pain or heartbreak. And that worry, that sense of worry or that like anxiety that we have, it's a skill, and it just happens to be really loud, and we need to figure out a way to listen to it and then turn the volume down, or give it a way to turn its own volume down. So, in some cases, I know that, or at least in my case, I know that a lot of my past experiences with relationships, either familial, romantic, platonic relationships, those experiences can often trigger my worry to go into full-on heightened mode. But last couple weeks have found that if I can remember that my power of choice in the situation, or in my choice to worry or not to worry, or to engage in a new experience based on my past experiences, or to engage in this new experiences from a clean slate, that power of choice is in the permission that I give my past experiences. So if I let my past experience of having someone really berate me or criticize me, then it's totally natural that I have a hard time trusting someone in that given moment, right? My worry is going to take over because it's worried about the fact that it might happen again. It's trying to protect me from that. But your bigger self basically can make that decision to say, I'm going to approach this from a clean slate. And sometimes it's not a choice to, I'm going to completely unprotect myself and go into this situation like a brand new baby with fresh skin. I think it's actually a choice to say, you know what, I'm going to approach this subject or this engagement or this experience as if I am my biggest self, my most grown-up self, because those past experiences happened to us when we were younger, right? Even if it's just a year younger. So the things that we have learned since that past experience can also be just as helpful as the worry and the protective mentality that we have going into this new experience. So, my encouragement to you guys is to, when you are trapped within your own sense of worry, or that hamster wheel of worry, is to get really honest with yourself and ask what is actually happening, not what might happen, but what is actually happening right now. And in a lot of cases, especially if you've been on the worry hamster wheel for a really long time, you're already so far out into the possible future that you're completely unaware of what is actually happening, and that none of those things are actually happening right at this moment. So when you come back to, what's actually happening? I'm holding a cup of coffee. I'm talking to people on a podcast, or I'm holding a cup of coffee and I have my job later today. I have a couple of appointments later today. Walk yourself through what is actually happening, even right now, but also just today. What is actually happening today? I think if you get into that logistical framework and or mindset, and you can kind of go, okay, these things are happening. I have X amount in my bank account. I have, I haven't had to pay all of those bills that I'm worrying about yet, because I have this amount in my bank account right at this moment, right now. even if answering those questions about what is actually happening right now, even if answering that question is kind of stressful or might trigger you to go off into the worry wheel, if you really stay within your strength of knowing truth and knowing what your honesty is, then making those risks to change your reality or to use your reality to move forward, those things that's power right there, especially when you find yourself back in honesty. But if you find yourself in, Never Never Land, then a lot of times, especially if you're in Never Never Land with worry, that becomes your vision of impossibility as opposed to your vision of possibility. Positive versus negative, at least, right? So within the truth of what exactly your situation is like right now, what is actually happening, where is that possibility? Because I think when we see everything laid out, when we see our entire budget laid out, we can see, wow, okay, I need $500 to make ends meet this month. Or, wow, I need about 8 more hours every day in order to make this project happen. If we don't take a minute to cut ourselves free from that worry wheel and look at everything in a really objective viewpoint, then we don't get to make those decisions to, yes, I will take that extra gig this month, or wow, I need to hire a VA for this next 2 weeks because I'm not going to get everything done that I know that I need to get done. So I want you to know that even though that choice to look at things objectively from a bird's eye view, it's kind of scary at times, and you also have to kind of stop the momentum of worrying about whatever you're doing, or even stop the momentum of working on the project that you're working on. But taking that moment to get that bird's eye view, truly, I think it's one of the most powerful ways to bring new, wonderful goodness and new opportunities into your life and into your career and into your work, because you're able to see where the possibilities are. Even if it's like, wow, I need to make $500 extra this month, that's a possibility. You now have the opportunity to go make $500 now. And yeah, you can take it as, from a worry standpoint and go, if I don't do this, then all of these things will happen, and all of these things might happen. You don't know that, because at this point, you just need to make $500 and you're going to be okay. So I think if you can bring yourself to not focus on the worrying about what will happen after you don't make the $500, but focus on okay, great. What are the ways that I can make $500 this month? That is a much more useful way to channel all of that worrying energy, because then your worrying energy is focused into doing something about it, as opposed to just sitting there stewing and spewing about all of it. So, that is something that I have a lot of experience with, both in doing it well and doing it really poorly. But it's also something that I think, that tool or that skill to be able to choose to worry or choose to channel your worrying into momentum, that's a really fantastic skill for any creative to use. And, when we are feeling kind of out of sorts, that skill is something that if you build it and you hone it in and you sharpen it, then that skill is something that you can reach for at any given moment, and it will work like a charm. I guarantee it. So some action item for making this happen is to make a point. If you are feeling really worried about something, take 5 minutes, like just 5 minutes, and do a stream of consciousness writing session on bringing your emotion into into your writing. So if you're really stressed out about something or you're really worried about something, take 5 minutes, write about it. Then stop the timer, lay out all of the cards that are in the given situation that you're worried about, and look really objectively at what is happening here. That's all I have for you today. I think, like I said, it's a really powerful tool, and I would love to hear about it, your strategies for cutting yourself free from some of these worry hamster wheels. Our Facebook group is super awesome. You just have to join. You'll get an invite if you download the Bravery bundle from our website. You'll automatically get a link to that there. And if you are on Facebook, you can just look Bare Naked Bravery, 3 words, Bare Naked Bravery on Facebook. Just search for it, and you'll be prompted with 3 questions before I let you join on. I answer, or I let people in on Tuesdays. So if you answer those questions so that I know that you're an actual human who's not who's not a weirdo, then we'll be happy to have you in the group. And by weirdo, I mean pervert, because there's a lot of weird guys who have been trying to get into the group, who are a part of a lot of strange Facebook groups. Let's just say that. So come visit us on Bare Naked Bravery, download your Bravery bundle, and I hope you guys have a really, really kick-ass weekend. May you be vulnerable, imaginative, improvisational, and most of all, may you be brave this weekend.